Right. Okay. So welcome to the Marketing Roundtable. Today we're going to be talking. Oh, I love that, John. John's got one of those little signs with a big thumb up, a little Facebook like button. Good stuff. Oh, and a heart button. I love that.
I love
it. But today we're going to be talking about limiting the supply of you to be able to increase demand. Really kind of interesting session. I'm going to show a few little tips on how you can go and approach this to be able to raise prices, raise demand, and actually what can you do and what have I done in the past that I can maybe depart some of that wisdom to you. So I hope that'll help today. So let me just jump into the slides and go through that. So welcome. That's the agenda. We want to leave a bit of Q&A because this is quite nice because there's different business models and we can kind of work on those different business models and try and get some ideas out on how supply and demand can work in your favor. And this is very much within step one of the $1 million process. I know many of you guys would have seen this, but I'm going to just tag this into the bottom of here. This is on our website here, our thesis and process. So there's a 9-step thesis and process, and this very much covers sort of step one, which is creating a scalable model for you, right? So if you want to go check that out further, there's a nice 9-step process, a big thesis in there. I've chucked that in the chat, so just save that for later. If you're watching this on a replay, it'll probably be the video. Okay, cool. So I hear this all the time. Oh, my clients won't pay that much. You know, they can't afford to pay that. My clients are different. My clients, you know, the economy, all the issues, you know, Boris is having another scandal, you know, all of these things. It's like, oh, there's never going to happen. Well, it's simply a case that actually you've got to work supply and demand in your favor. And the people that do charge a lot understand this. You know, look at this chap, right? His net worth 600 million. And he's a, you know, author, motivational speaker. His supply and demand is massively high. To be able to actually buy his time is near on impossible. In fact, and Andre Agassi, back in the day where he was winning Wimbledon as a tennis star, he famously paid $1 million to Tony Robbins to be able to do a coaching session for him to be his coach. And that's because he understood that Tony just doesn't sell his time. So to be able to buy some of his time, you've got to wave big bucks at it. And so time is completely valuable. It just depends on who's selling it to whom. And you can pull on the same supply and demand levers as Tony does. You just got to understand what they are and understand your value in the market, right? So let's just start with the economics of that. So this is kind of classic price on the left, and quantity along the bottom, right? So if you have more quantity, then the price tends to come down. If you have a higher price, then the quantity gets less because you sell less, right? And actually there's that demand and supply axis that comes in the middle, right? So there's this sweet spot that we all want to get to. So if we can kind of find that, you probably are all in that sweet spot at the moment. You think the price is about right. Yeah, you're selling as many as you can because you've got to kind of be able to pay the bills. So you've got to sell as many as you can at that price to be able to, you know, pay the mortgage, have a business, grow, right? And so therefore your supply and demand works off the back of it. But what if we start to shift some of these things, right? So what if we actually peel back some of the supply of you? Well, actually, if you've got the same amount of demand, so the demand axis has not changed, but you've just pulled back some of that supply, then what's happened to the price? Well, the price has gone up and you need to sell less of them to make the same amount of money. Interesting, right? But then what if you do extra supply? So you go and increase the amount of stuff that you're actually supplying, and increase the quantity. Sorry, what if you increase demand but keep the supply the same? Sorry, this is what this one's looking at. So the demand is leaving, the D line is moving, right? So we kept the supply the same, but the demand has increased. How does that show up? Well, maybe you had a viral video that went viral on TikTok, so more people want to talk to you and want to work with you. Maybe this happened for me when I went into The Apprentice. And did the BBC stuff and hang out with Lord Sugar for a bit. And so the demand for me went really high during that period, and the supply of me was still the same. And so therefore, what happened to my prices? It goes up. And so they're the kind of big things, but you can just tweak those And I'm going to give you ways of micro tweaking those today, right? But actually, we want to think about both. So this is kind of what happens with both. If you can increase demand and increase that supply only a fraction, look what the price does, right? You see how that price shoots back up, right? You just tweak the supply slightly, the demand is going even more, and then the price is going up. So you're in a lovely position there where you can keep on increasing that price. So we want to increase price without over increasing the time that you need to spend doing it, and to get to a position where the demand is getting higher, right? And so we look at that. So you really are the supply and demand drivers in your business. Most of us are who are on this call. There's very few expert businesses that aren't that supply and demand driver, right? Even if you're running a software business, you might think, well, actually the software is the thing that people want. Well, actually, a lot of people, when they start off software businesses, they're selling it because they personally are doing lots of demos to get people to buy software. And that's what happens when you're a fledgling software business. And so therefore, it's still a case of you're the main driver when you're selling, when you're getting up to a certain level with your business. It's that kind of acceleration to $1 million in revenue. This is all about you. Genuinely really is, right? So step one on how to do this is that we need to solve a pain and do it well within a solution that scales. This is so important when you start to think about limiting you, and you've got to think about, well, actually, is the product that I'm selling over giving you in that product? Am I a massive cog in the delivery of what I do? If I am, then people are getting lots of me and I'm not being valued. My price of me personally is not being valued, right? Let me just give you an idea of Yomps. This is our marketing agency that run. We grow this. This was an old picture of when we were a lot younger. And actually the products we did, and I'm going to use marketing agency. I can do also a bit of a demo for, say, a coaching business or accelerator business. But we soon worked out that actually we got to work out, well, actually, what is the thing that our clients want? So this is the solve a pain bit. So we all should be thinking about this. Oh, hang on, let me just get my pen right. So we got that. We all should be thinking that when anybody buys anything, they're looking for a result. Oh, why is that not working? Come on. Aha, there we go. Great stuff. We're back in. Right. So I talk about this all the time. People buy results. When I come and actually want to work with you, say you're a marketing agency, and the thing that people want from you, like they did for us for marketing agency, they wanted more leads. I went to your marketing agency. I want more leads. That is the result that I want. Leads. Okay. All right, cool. Right. So I want more leads. Now, where I am now is not enough leads, right? I haven't got enough leads. So how do I go from where I am now to the result that I want? Well, there's this journey that your service will take them on, right? So that journey is like, they've got to find out who their target audience is. You've got to create a funnel for them. You've got to drive some ads. You've got to maybe do some email marketing, whatever it is. And it gets them up to that result. And that's the system. Now, if you personally are doing every single one of these pieces, then the value of you within this is a lot less, right? The result is still there, but actually I'm not valuing it enough because you're running around doing everything you can and the result is not paying off. It's the same with, say, business coaching. If you want to be able to help someone, you want to be able to help them grow their business. So grow their business is the result that they get, and where they are now is they have businesses not growing, right? And so therefore you've got a nice wiggly line to help them to grow their business. That's the journey. That's the thing that people want to go on and solve it. And that product, your product, needs to deliver against that to be able to create that result, right? So it's important to think about. So that's the solution that solves pain. Oh, hang on, let me just move this. Now, how do we actually do this? Let me just, I like that rainbow pen, but it's a little bit difficult to read sometimes. Let's go back to the normal classic white pen. Okay, right. So when I was a marketing agency, I thought, well, actually, I need to make sure that the time that people spend with me is high value and they rate it, and then we deliver against it, right? So what I came up with is the idea that actually to get the result for our clients, we needed to be able to do a video a day, a blog a day, a video a week. So one video per week, one blog per week, because this was a content marketing, one email per week, and then 7 days of social media, right? So social media, okay? So we decided that this was the way that we're going to put out content and be able to get these leads for clients. So we put together this package and we were going to deliver that package, and out the back of that would equal leads. So that became the idea behind the solution. The solutions they want leads. How were we going to get there? Was by producing this content for them each week. If I was to produce all of that, then we would be working out to go, well, actually, the cost of that blog would be, say we sold this for £1,000. The cost of this would be like 100 quid, 100 quid, 100, whatever it is, right? And so therefore, if I'm spending, 10 hours on this, then my cost is £100 per hour. Whereas actually what we want to do is increase that and to be able to show that it's a really interesting product and it's really time efficient. So we came up with the idea of a content pack, okay? So this is just helping you to kind of think about, well, how can you work a solution that scales? So we would have clients that would come in, I'd do the sales meeting with them, come up with some ideas and some content for them, and then have, they would sign up, we'd have the kickoff meeting, and we would solidify 10 ideas, right? So 10 ideas that we would have for the content. Those 10 ideas that we would have for the content would become the briefing that we would send to our video guy, right? So a video guy would then take those 10 ideas and work with the client to produce those 10 times videos, right? So we've now got 10 videos. The video guy would then send that to the writer, who would then write 10 times emails, 10 times blogs, 10 times 7 days of social, right? So 7 times 10, so 70 pieces of social, but it was 7 pieces of social per blog, basically. So that became what we'd call our content pack. So each week we now have one piece of content that we can go out, one video, one blog, one email, 7 days of social. And so we delivered that out each week for 10 weeks. And then at the end of those 10 weeks, I then had a meeting with the client to review how that went and how many leads they got, and then to come up with the next 10 session or 10 ideas for the next call, right? And so what you've now got is a situation that I'm just seeing clients every 10 weeks, and every 10 weeks we're coming up with new ideas, and that was my entire input personally with the client. So what do you think in terms of my personal value in that scenario? My value was a lot higher because my team were delivering it and my time therefore was more valuable. So when clients said, well, actually, look, I want you to help me look at these other things, then I'd be saying to them, well, actually, I could come in and do that, but it'd be a consultancy piece. And so therefore, the value of my time, I'll be able to charge you, say, £500 for a 90-minute session, or £1,000 for a couple of consulting pieces in the month. And so now my cachet is far higher because I've limited the supply of me in that scenario. Another problem that you would have, so this is kind of the concept of the business coach, right? So we talk about this as the hybrid business model. So if you're a business coach and you are selling one-to-one, what happens is if you're selling one-to-one and you're then with clients, you're thinking, well, actually, maybe I want to go get 15 clients, right? So I have 15 clients and I want to, sell it at like £500 a month, right? That'd be quite nice. So 15 clients, £500 a month, £7,500 a month. But after you take tax out of that, costs of being able to acquire clients, costs of running a business, is actually not that bigger amount that you'll be taking home personally, right? And the issue is that you're kind of capped at that, because at 15 clients times by 2 sessions a month for that, that'd be 30 sessions, and then divide that by sort of 20 working days. But do you really want to be working every day? So you're seeing a number of clients, and it's like you're getting burnt out by running lots and lots of one-to-one coaching sessions with people. And if anybody's done lots of one-to-one coaching, suddenly you realize, actually, I don't want to be working with clients every single day. And the reason why I got into business is I only want to do a bit of coaching here and there. And before you know it, you burn out. So you're kind of capping out about 15 to 20 clients when you're running a coaching business, right? So how do you create a coaching business that scales? Well, instead of doing it one-to-one, you want to work on a bit of a hybrid model, right? So we always say that actually win a client, work through and do an onboarding call with them. After you do an onboarding call with them, work into a situation where you can actually give them an online program that helps them to do that kind of scaling to result piece, right? So if this is a 5-step scale to result, then this can be a 5-step online module, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-step online module. But nobody actually really cares about just that these days, because actually when anybody wants to do anything, and we talk about this as the $1 million audience shift, if you want to really help someone, you want to be able to give them leadership, but you also need to give them community, routine, and personalization, right? And so if you're not giving someone all of those 4 things, then they're only getting leadership, because an online course is like leadership, leadership, leadership. And we all get bored of that, and there's no accountability. So you've got to do something about community. You've got to do something about routine. You've got to do something about personalization, because I go from not really knowing, someone that can help me with this result to I found you, you know how to get this result. I go from not really knowing anybody else that actually is dealing with this, who are peers, to, oh, I'm in the right room of people which actually are solving this. I go from actually not going, how many people are sporadically trying to solve this problem, to I'm now routinely checking in and trying to get this solution sorted. And then I'm going, oh, I'm getting lots of generic advice out there. So how does it actually matter to me? So that's the personalization piece. So that's where you want to get people to. So a hybrid model as a coach can really work nicely. So you do all the leadership stuff up here, but if you drop in and do drop-in clinics, so say you do them on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, now suddenly people can come in, they can go and learn from you up here, drop in on Monday, go, oh, okay, that's interesting, I've got a question here. You go, okay, what I want to do is this, this, and this, and then go do this module, and then come see me on Wednesday. And then do this and this, come see that module, and come see me on Friday. And so that's how you can then add personalization, because these are group calls, it's community, because there's 3 of them a week, it's routine, and because you can carry on helping people as leadership as well. So you kind of hit the whole quadrant in these drop-in clinics. And then you add to it by actually doing a bit of a VIP community in there, where again, people can get their community. You put the recordings of the drop-in clinics into there. So that gives you another bit of routine, because there's 3 of them getting uploaded. And of course, you can continue answering questions. That's the leadership piece in there and the personalization, right? So you've got community in there that's helping with that quadrant. And you've got the drop-in clinics that help in that quadrant. That in essence allows you now to go from working, 30, 40 hours a week, 30, 40 hours, to actually just doing 3 sessions a week, 3 drop-ins for 1 hour per week, right? And that you can then still have 100 odd clients on that. And you could have 100 odd clients still paying you the same 500 quid a month. Why? Because for that client that was paying you one for 500 quid, they see you twice. But for the same 500 quid, they get to see you 3 times a week this way, and have all the other supporting documents, and also have a community and some routine and some personalization. So it's actually a better gig for the clients. So gang, that gives you a solution that scales. You have 100 people with 3 hours a week delivery on that. So therefore you can really scale it. Or you can have clients paying you £2,000-3,000 a month on an agency type model, and only working 1 hour or 1.5 hours every 10 weeks per client, right? So you can see how those 2 solutions seriously are scalable and will seriously be efficient on your time. Cool. So that's what we kind of do with our agency. And actually this is the hybrid model, is what we're teaching our clients now to do the $1 million sprint. So now that we've got this solution that works well for delivery, so we're just taking all your time out of delivery and your high value in your delivery. Now we need to do it front end and exactly the same way, because if you are spending lots and lots of time doing stuff one-on-one on your front end, then again, you're going to have the same issues with supply and demand. So step 2 of this process is to create a demand moment each week. What do we mean by demand moment? Well, we kind of mean that you want to create some sort of positioning that allows you to draw people into a funnel, to take them from a position of being aware of you online into considering you. It could be a podcast, could be amazing for podcast, could be a long form post on LinkedIn that's really high value, really could be on Medium, a long form written content, could be an event like this. Whatever it is, you need to create a moment where people can come and consider you, and there is a demand for people to consume what you're saying. And if you're not producing that every single week, then you're not creating any demand for people wanting some of your time. So if you put people into a group type scenario like this, then there's lots of people who go, oh, okay, I might want to understand a little bit more about how this works. So step 2, you need to create that demand moment per week. Then in that demand moment, step 3 is you over deliver value for free, right? Before you sell. So not only are you creating this demand moment, which is it's masses, so one person to masses type product, you are then also need to over deliver, give so much value, give so much ideas, content, really get people excited and buzzing around it. That demand and that over deliver will really help you put it in pre-sale. And then you put enough credit in your audience's bank to then draw them onto the next stage, which is then to invite them along to some sort of sales call or some sort of strategy type session. So we talk about strategy sessions, sales sessions. It's more value. And so you could run those and say, hey guys, I only have 4 slots a week for people to book into those calls. And you must be this type of person that's willing to do this stuff, and actually tell them that there's a qualifying process for them to book one of your limited seats on your sales calls, right? So you're now creating a supply and demand moment. There's only 4 of them, and you must be these type of people. So it's kind of that fear of missing out. Oh, this sounds really good. I'd love to spend a bit more time with you to be able to do that. And maybe you could offer that one-to-one. Or best case scenario, you say, right, I do 1 session a week. It's a group session. And that's where you will learn a bit more about what we do, right? So you've gone from doing a big podcast or a big event or whatever it is. So if you've got a rate, so for example, one of our $1 million sprinters, Gavin Gallagher, he's been running a podcast every single week. He's got thousands and thousands of subscribers. People love it. And he just does 1 group session every week. And he invites people to that. And it's a group pitch. And he just talks about his property mastermind. And from that, he has a great set of raving fans that come along to it. And he sells them into his program, right? And so by having that, he's gone mass market. People listen to him, build a relationship with him on his podcast, get drawn into that 1 call. He then gives some great value in that 1 call, and people make the decision to buy, right? So you really want to limit your sales calls because it's limiting the supply of you, increases, and you've increased the demand by over delivering value for free. You've then limited the supply of you, so you're funneling, and so therefore you've still got control of that system. So step 5. Now, once you've got this plan in place, you can then crank the handles consistently, right? So this is an example of a plan, right? So this is Ada and Andrea. These are $2 million sprinters that we work with. We come up with these plans for them, right? And so they have this LinkedIn outreach campaign that they're working. They're pushing people into their weekly moment, which is a weekly event that they do. Very similar to this, right? They use an email marketing campaign to keep on cranking. So people are coming from their LinkedIn. They're zapping them into their email database. They're then messaging. They're getting people along to their weekly moment. From there, they're squeezing people into a strategy session. There's some clever ideas that we help them to put together with that. And they're also then doing a follow-up sequence with people that comes their weekly moment. They're following them up and nudging them into that strategy session. They're also repurposing their weekly moment onto YouTube and onto their podcast, but it's the same content that they're repurposing. So they're doing one thing and creating massive demand, and then they're pushing it back into the strategy session. From there, they then pitch their products and push them into their landing page. And if people need a nudge, then they might do a quick decision call with them. But that's the plan. Now, once they have that plan, all they need to do is attend. So if you think about this, they just attend 1 weekly moment that they go on to. So they do 1 event and they do 1 group strategy session. So that's a 1-hour event and a 1-hour strategy session. That's 2 hours. And they do the 3 drop-in clinics for their delivery. That's 3 hours. That's just 5 hours that they are delivering and sales, marketing, delivering. That's all their demand. Their supply of themselves is just 5 hours. So what do you think the prices are for them? They're very high because they've limited the supply of themselves, and they are still spending all of their time talking about the result that they get for their clients. So when I say crank the volume, now this is in play. They're cranking the volume on their organic LinkedIn outreach. They're cranking the volume on their DMs, and they're cranking the volume on their connection requests on LinkedIn. And they're using clever automation, and they're really smashing it to be able to get more and more people coming into it, right? So they're setting and then they're cranking. And that is how you work it. How do you really go about this in a process-driven way? Well, you don't want to be stuck in a system, right, gang? So we talk about this, and actually in a strategy session that I do with clients, I go into this in a lot more detail, so we can always talk about that. But this is what I'd call your weekly content calendar. Once you've got a content calendar and you've got a weekly moment cycle, then you should know exactly what you're posting on each day of the week. and can automate you can automate it and delegate the entire calendar, so people are consuming it and seeing it, but you're not having to do it. So for example, I do not distribute my content anymore. It's all preset and it's all done. And it means that I just get to turn up on an event like this and have a lovely audience ahead of me, and then work through my social media that way. It gives me loads of time back because of this. So this is what I want for you guys to be able to have a content calendar, which is all aligned towards your big weekly moment, your value piece, your demand moment. And that demand moment is totally aligned to getting people to strategy session. Because if the 13-week rhythm is here, creating people that come to this, and then from here, you're helping people to get to this, that's all you need. Rhythmic. And then you can start to increase the volume from there. Cool. So questions, gang. So that's how you limit the supply yourself to be able to have a scalable solution, and that scalable solution you can be able to work through. So just let's take a quick question, gang.
Hey, Rich.
Yes.
Hey guys. Just a quick one. So that you've got a great program, that 13-week program with lots of content. Obviously, all of us, we all may be at different stages. I don't know, but certainly for me, I haven't got 13 weeks of content yet. So there is a heavy wheel to push, I'm guessing, at the front, which will then allow me to create my weekly moment or allow the personalization that you reference as people then tune into those sessions. So that's the first part of the question. I got a second part is then just, is that content then evergreen, available all the time? But what you're doing is you're signposting it at certain weeks to say, hey, look at week 2, which is, I don't know, double your income or whatever, but I know it wasn't that, but that sort of thing. So 2 parts of the question.
Yeah, lovely tip. So this is, and actually, if you guys are interested, I'd be delighted to show you guys in a bit more detail, and we can go through this. Probably haven't got time here, but I'll give you I'll let you know how you can jump onto it in a second. But if I kind of how do I get out of this? Let me just get out of this. If I go into the live version now, you build this personally. So the clients that we work with, this is what we do with the accelerator. Our clients, it's one of the key deliverables that we work with our clients. So why 13 weeks? Well, 52 weeks divided by 4 is 13. So therefore you do the same 13 weeks 4 times a year, right? Now, what you do is you break down your accelerator, your agency, whatever it is. So for example, Tim, what is it? Just remind me what it is that you do.
Sorry, marketing comms, marketing communication stuff, product launches for SaaS, growth, packing, all that sort of stuff, really.
In a done for you way, i.e. you're doing the marketing comms for clients.
I'm doing the marketing, so I lead workshops, get the strategy together, and then they actually deliver it, or sometimes ask me to do the lifting. But either way, I'm the cog of one stuck in that space. Yeah. Fantastic.
So your 13-week cycle would look something like this. How do you get your positioning right for a launch for a SaaS business? The 7 mistakes people make when doing whatever it is, and you start to think about what are the crowd pleaser type subjects that relate to your business, and you write down 13 of them, right? And so they become your weekly moments. You can see here 1, 2, 13, right? And so these are the different ones. In fact, you can start to see here, where is the there you go, how to create demand for how to create demand for what you do by limited supply of you. There you go. We are currently in week 8. Okay. But by the way, and John mentioned this, this is why I do these sessions. I'm totally transparent with this. The reason why I'm totally transparent with how we work this system is because I want you guys to work this system. The clients that we work with, they all produce this. We give this template to them as a Trello board, and they are able to produce their own content, right? And so that's how it works. And so we share it with them. They can jump into it brilliantly. It just works perfectly for them. Okay, right. So then they go into this and go, right, okay, so we want to go onto here and actually go, well, let's go check out this. And we go on to this column and we go, right, this is the engagement creator. And we show them the type of content they should be producing on Monday to create engagement to then promote the event on a Wednesday, and so we kind of demonstrate the system around that and all the stuff. So for example, this is a LinkedIn post, right? Now, why does each day have? So let me just recap a quick bit, and then I'll come back into this weekly moment bit, right? So once you have your 13 subjects, then you should be able to then set a rhythm to how to get people along to those 13 subjects, right? Let me just go onto my blackboard. Here we go. So the perfect rhythm, we say, is work some sort of engagement creator on a Monday. Why? Because you get lots and lots of people actually engaging that post. That gives you a great amount of warm leads that then you can go and engage with, because tomorrow you're going to do a promo. What are you promoting on Tuesday? You're promoting the weekly moment on a Wednesday, right? So all of these people, you're going to hit them up with this post that says, hey, come along to this weekly moment. Then that weekly moment, you're going to say, hey, jump onto a strategy session where you can show them more and add them even more value on that strategy session. On the Thursday, you then say, who wants the replay in case you missed it of this weekly moment? And also we've got a swipe file for you as well, right? So then the replayers also are going to be called into action on the strategy session, and you can add value. You can DM that to them. If anybody missed it as well, you say, hey, what's your email? And then you get their emails, you put it into your email list, so then they can see next week's as well. Plus you can nudge them on the strategy session. And then on Friday, you just do a bit of credibility. So you can do like a share a win, or you can do a piece of thought leadership, like a long form post or what have you. So Monday, engagement creator, spike the algorithm. Tuesday, promotion. Wednesday, weekly moment. Thursday, replay. And then Friday. So that's kind of the system. Now, there's loads of tricks on how to make this work and how to crank it and how to get to this faster. But the truth is that you run it first yourself. And you personally, every single one of our clients, we personally make them put together this first 13 weeks and run that through, and we coach them to be able to make it perfect. The second time they do it, second 13-week cycle, if they feel hand on heart that it was awesome first time round, you delegate it to your team to then go post all that content, because you've already written into all those cards, right? So every single card is written out with all the different content in there, like I just showed you on that Trello board, right? If it's not quite right, what tends to happen is week 1 to 6 is a bit messy. You then go back on the second time round and sort of then, plaster over all the cracks and get it all right, working you perfectly yourself on the second cycle. And then on the third cycle, you then have a team that then delivers it perfectly for you. The same 13 weeks. Now, we've been running this 13-week cycle, and there's some lovely people on here, Alex, John, to name a couple that have been with us for a long time. And you guys probably have seen this presentation before. But look, I can't remember what I did last weekend, let alone 14 weeks ago. So the point is also the first time you hear something. So Tim, the first time you're hearing this now, it will kind of sink in on one level because it's the current level that you're thinking of. Then you're going to try a few things out, or you might come and jump on a call with me or whatever, and we'll work through a few things. And then something else will sink in, and something else will, do you know what I mean? And then because your business then grows, you're actually operating on a different mindset. And then suddenly some of the things that you missed the first time are like, that dot just got connected. And so it's actually helping your audience. Do you know what? I love it, because there's a few people that just were nodding there, and the people that were nodding were the people that have probably seen this before. Like the regular, it's great. And it's so it just, you can help to connect the dots. Now, the point being is that you only, in these type of calls, you're giving a sliver of value, because obviously if you are selling, Tim, your consultancy project, they want to know how it's going to work for them. They want specifically to see how it works for them. So that's why people will go on Progress and jump on to say a strategy session where you can specifically say, well, this is exactly how it works for you. And that's how you start to roll that out. In fact, just on that moment, and I'm going to recap and ask Tim if I've answered his question, because I know I'm on a bit of a tangent, but that's kind of my prerogative. But look, guys, the people that run this type of model is everybody. This is just simply a way of approaching this. Awareness, consider, convert, right? One way of getting people aware. So just something to be able to get people from, like a traffic source like LinkedIn. One way to consider, that's your weekly moment. One way to get people to convert, your sales meeting. And once they do, then you deliver. This is Delight Gamify Advocates. That's your delivery program. These are the type of people that we work with. They're getting great results. Third sale of the week, 8K in a bag. This is Lilac, who just sold her $3,000 program. Now she's got to build it. 9K deal going in here. The model that we talk about is this. This is helping people getting into the Hall of Fame. What we do with our clients is we help them to produce this type of cycle and other ideas around this. and we take them from preliminaries, i.e. not selling anything of their new scale model, through heat 1, heat 2, heat 3, into the gold medal case, 40K per month, and into the Hall of Fame, 84K per month. That's the model that we make, and it genuinely does work. Here's 3 of our Hall of Famers. They have gone through that model and are now doing $1 million in revenue. So absolutely smashing it. That, by the way, Tim, is Dan, who does a very similar business for you. It's a marketing branding consultancy, right? So that's the piece. So if any of you, the stuff that I've just talked about now, and I've got time to do another question, and I will loop back to you, Tim, but we do this strategy session. I know that you can see that in my model, obviously strategy session. In that strategy session, yes, there is a part 3. We will explore whether or not $1 Million Sprint could be right for you. There is no pressure whatsoever. I'm not that type of guy, which is why I'm totally transparent here. And I'm completely the same when I go into that call. So that's why my authentic self when I speak to you guys about this, right? But in part 1, we are going to look at where you are now and how we can get you to a 12-month target. And actually, is your 12-month target the $1 Million Hall of Fame, or is it more like gold medal race or the heat 3? And we look at that, right? We then look at the campaigns and your Trello board and your 13-week cycle and actually what that could be to get you there. And then at the end, we look at how that can happen. And I just do these, as you might imagine, once a week. So it's a group session. It's at 12:30 every week. And if you just allow me, before I jump back to the question, I'll just show you how to do that, which is the free strategy session up here. And you just jump onto this page here on our website. There's an orange button on here, and this takes you into a booking link. And I'm going to stick that in the chat right away for you now. Bam. And this is the Wednesday session here. You see 12:30 today. There's still some time and spaces left on this Wednesday session here. So please do jump on today's call. If you can't make today's call at 12:30, there's one each Wednesday going forward. So do book that session, and we'd love to go through that with you. Now, John very kindly saying stuff in the chat. So Tim, back to you. Did I answer that question? I can't remember.
Yeah, you did. So yeah, it does. We know there's a bit of heavy lifting at the beginning. I think and some of the guys I can see on the call are already through their third time through. I think Alex said. So that's amazing to see it in action. I guess and I get the way that you create 13 highlight topics. I suppose great crowd pleasing topics. I think you called it, didn't you? That's gonna draw people in. They don't need to have the depth. I guess, is there just one last part to the question then, and just to maybe help people who are in the same stage as me, there's a lag between when we start, because we won't have all that content ready, or do we get week 1 running and get week 1 ready, and we're running and we're creating week 2 while we're delivering week 1?
Yeah, I think the point is like anything, right? So obviously there's a caveat to say, if you are inside our program, there is help and stabilizers and like a ton of fast track where you'll literally have templates for every single day that you just completely edit and just put your content in, and together you and I come up with your 13-week cycle, right? So that's the caveat. If people are approaching this, on their own, it doesn't matter if they're doing it on their own or not. You always approach it 1 week at a time, because there's no point you hypothetically thinking 12 weeks down the line, because you won't be producing the content as well. You simply start, you always start on Friday. So the following Friday, where you posting the event, then, your Monday, you're doing this work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you just build it as you go. And that's why it's okay that the first time you do it, it's a bit messy. And actually the results that you're trying to get the first time round, you're not expecting loads of people to go to the calls. You're not expecting lots of people to jump onto it. But what we are trying to get to is this magic number. This is the magic number that we're trying to get all of our clients to get to. The $1 Million Hall of Famers that you see there are beating this. But essentially the magic number we're getting to is 30, 20, 5, 2, right? And that's for a classic kind of accelerator model. Yeah, and what it means is that 30 people who book on to your weekly moment will mean that 20 people will attend your weekly moment, which means that you should get 5 strategy session booking from that weekly moment and the follow-ups, etc., which should then give you 2 sales per week. right? So every single week, 30, 25, 2, 30, 25, 2. Now I've got, so talking about Dan, who was a $1 million Hall of Famer, he definitely does not want 2 clients. He would be completely overwhelmed. So he's doing 30, 25, 1, which means that he can be more selective around it. And he's happy with that because, actually, to be honest with you, it's more for, because he's doing like 100 grand. Some of those projects are like 100 grand. It's kind of almost like 0.5, and he's completely cool with that because of just the amount. So his supply and demand is even high. He's got a waiting list, right? And so that's the beauty. It depends on where you are. But the reason why this is quite an interesting model is that we say to our clients, look, if you could actually sell an accelerator, you put together accelerators, this type of work that we do with our clients that costs, say, $597 per month, right? And you then sell 2 of those, right? So let's sell 2 of those per week. Okay, cool. So then that's the revenue. And obviously, if they're signing up for a 12-month program with you, so you got to times that by 12 months. So each week, adding that amount of revenue on, and then let's times that by 50 weeks because we'll give you 2 weeks off for Christmas. So you're about 716,000. So that would be your revenue from doing a 30-25-2. Now, if you actually equated what 716,000 was in US dollars, you'll find that's about $1 million, and hence why the $1 million sprint is named as such. So that is the model that we ask people to kind of work towards, and that is why just 2 sales a week can make you $1 million business. Just 20 people attending an event can make you a $1 million business. That's what it is. It's rhythm. It's a heartbeat. It's 30-22, 30-32, 30-22. It's just rhythmic. And that's every business that I built, once it is what every business I built was successful because we did the boring stuff really well. The boring stuff really, really well. And that's the piece that all the people I feel that don't work well and don't grow, they just get bored too quickly. They get shiny object syndrome, magpie effect, this new thing, and TikTok and this. The only TikToks that I've done is just a couple of testing ones just to see the platform because people are talking about it. It ain't my core driver. It's not the thing that's making things happen. It's a complete distraction. Same with, Instagram stories. I mean, it's complete distraction because it's not moving the dial for me. Whereas my automated LinkedIn outreach, massive. My automated LinkedIn outreach, my cold email outreach, massive drivers for us. And so that's my funnel because we get deep and good at stuff. We don't go wide on stuff. And I want you guys to think about that. I want to remove all your workload and I want you to focus on one traffic source, one weekly moment, one group sales pitch, one product that you deliver. I only sell the $1 million sprint. I only have one group session to do sales a week. I only have one weekly moment. We are here. I only really target one social media channel, LinkedIn. We've got a little Facebook group, but that's legacy. To be honest with you, we just share stuff in there. It's not, you guys are probably in it. It's not massively engaging, but we share some cool stuff in there. But that's how we run our platform, right? So what is your power of one? What is your traffic source? What is your weekly moment? What is your strategy session? What is your flagship product? That, my friends, and I'm going to take another question now, is exactly why you should jump onto this call with me so we can find out exactly. John's doing the jazz out. Hey, that's exactly why you should jump onto this $1 million strategy session with me because we can go through that with you now. So I'm just checking it back into the chat. And if you haven't seen that, remember you can go onto our website, free strategy session. You click on the orange button and it takes you to this lovely page here. Cool. Right. Further question. Back into the room. Chris, was that like a question and then came back down again or not? No, sorry. I was like, right, over to Chris. Oh no, he's put his hand back down. Okay. Back into the room then. Did you? Oh, Alex, go on then.
I just want to say that the more I come along, the more I learn, because you're right about, you learn one thing in a minute and then you go away and you come back and you think, oh yeah. And so it's really helpful to move forward towards you.
Fantastic. Well, look, that's the point. And look, there is whenever you do audience creating stuff, there is people that that come onto one session, jump straight into whatever it is you're doing, and there's other people that you'll build a relationship over time, and at the time that's right for them, and if you've departed enough wisdom for them, then they get themselves in a position they can work with you as well. So you just got to remember that, guys, when you're putting together this content, there's lots of different people, and you're creating relationships with an audience, and that's great fun, and it's great to see people as well coming up. So thank you, Alex, good to see you. Jump back into the room, gang. Questions?
Can I ask John a question? Is it fair to do a peer-to-peer, Rich?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So John, great comments coming in inside, and great comments for everyone. And obviously, I'm feel a real newbie here. But John's doing some sessions with one person in his live. So I guess you're doing Instagram Live or Facebook Live or something, John. Sorry, you're on mute, I think.
Yeah, I actually do it through Zoom and then post it into the Facebook group.
Okay, and does that I guess that's one of the fears for all of us of doing this thing. What about if no one shows up? Are you okay with one? Does that work? Is that enough to give you business, or is that just testing, as you said?
Yeah, mostly testing. I've had probably 2 or 3 weeks where it's just been me and nobody else, and I just literally presented a 1 hour webinar, effectively, or 45-minute webinar. Although I do tend to go on a bit, so I can easily put an hour.
Yeah.
Cut myself off and stop them on a regular basis, but. Yeah, it's fine. It's mostly just practicing the process and getting used to it. So.
You're quite quiet there, John. But you were saying practice. I think the point is coming from my perspective as well. John's doing this outside of the program, so he's taken the idea buckets on here. To be fair, and you don't mind me saying that, John. So he's not $1 million sprinter, and so. We would not be expecting clients to be running sessions with only one person in it, running the system. And it's totally cool to test this stuff out. But I think there is that DIY versus, in an accelerator. And that maybe is a good example of it. And look, I share this stuff openly because I know it works and I want people to be able to get the benefits. So John getting confidence, and I hope to win clients and for this to work, because I genuinely hope that that's going to work. Versus what I've obviously said to John in the past, which is jump into program, let me give you all the ways to be able to get you from one client to 20 clients, and then let's crank that volume, right? And so obviously that's it's kind of what we're doing. But that's all right, John. I know. I mean, I've got broad shoulders, mate. So not everybody wants to work for me. I get it. Jean, yes, you are muted.
Yes, hi. I was just querying that whole thing because you then said, to do a podcast, let's say, where you are actually talking to yourself, kind of qualifies in your system as a weekly moment.
Yeah, and a long form blog post as well. So people are different, right? So this takes some guts to be able to put together.
And you're very extrovert. I mean, you enjoy this. You don't have to think about it. And as John said, you probably don't get bored each week.
but I think the point is, yes, you're right. So we've got, as in I gave the example of Gavin, right? So Gavin's doing great because he's built the audience. Now his subscribers and his downloads is what his 30 and 20 is, but it's slightly different. We talk about adding a 0 if you're doing a podcast or a YouTube or a live, right? So instead of 30, you want to have 300 downloads, from that. And so that's what we say when people are working that way. And it's different media suit different people. And the model still works. If you think about Monday Engagement Creator, you ask a question. So Gavin would be asking questions, say, who's ever done student accommodation? Yes or no? And everybody's going, yes, right. So bam. Then on Tuesday, he says, hey, tomorrow I've got a new podcast coming out about how to create a student property portfolio. And I'm interviewing, Dave Smith, who's got 100 properties or whatever it is. Wednesday, he then launches that podcast. Awesome. And then Thursday, he then contacts everybody that engaged on Monday to say, hey, did you see the podcast on Wednesday? Because you were saying you engaged on Monday about this. but we don't know if you've seen it. So bam, he's then in talking to the people on Monday, and then on Friday he's then sharing a win to say, hey, I once bought a student property, and I'm now making X amount of revenue, and he does a case study around it. That's a perfect week around that. Then next week he might be talking about corporate lets, and the feed refreshes. Oh, by the way, Saturday and Sunday, if you want to know what happens there, is lifestyle stuff. You purposely do nothing, or you post pictures of food because you've gone out to a nice restaurant, or your kids are playing sport, or whatever it is. You either give them nothing, or you give them the personal side of you. That's what you do at the weekends, because you want to refresh the feed, so therefore you can hit them up on the Monday again. Yeah, cool.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, John. I'm sorry, Pickle. I don't mean. I love you, John. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. John's in the chat saying, I'm trying to say why he's not joining me. So look, do not. Don't worry. I'm pulling your leg. Right. Good. Sam's got to go. I've also got to fly. So I've got. If anybody's got a quick question, feel free to ask it right now, or we'll close the meeting for today. All right. Oh, go for Tim.
No, thanks, Richard. And great to meet everyone. Thanks so much for the time.
Fantastic. Good to see you, gang. Good to see you. Janice, Jean, fantastic to see you. Marie, good to see you. Ruth, take care. And also thank you to the guys that have already booked in to strategy session, because my phone is pinging as we go. So I appreciate that. So I will catch you all next week for another episode of this, or I'll see you at strategy session. Lovely jubbly. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye. Bye-bye.